Revolution, 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 revolution.
Hey everybody, Brian Zane here with my somewhat belated review of AEW Revolution. I apologize for not getting this thing out a little bit sooner. I was a bit detained on Saturday night when the show was happening. I was doing commentary actually for Gateway to Honor in St. Charles, Missouri as part of Ring of Honor's Loop. Had a fun time with that. But I'm back here now. I watched the show first thing this morning. I'm going to give you my thoughts on the pay-per-view, beginning with Dustin Rhodes versus Jake Hager, the big grudge match going back all the way several months ago when Hager broke Dustin's arm in the car door. Hager making out with his wife at ringside before the match begins. We'll be seeing a little bit of her as this match goes on. Starts out with a big brawl on the outside for a bit, and then Hager gets the advantage with a big clothesline. Jake keeps blowing kisses to his wife and everything. At one point, they're on the outside. Hager is getting some advice from Mrs. Hager. Then Dustin takes Jake out, and Mrs. Hager goes for a punch, but Dustin blocks it and kisses her, like you do when you're a babyface and you stop a woman from punching you. That's just a wrestling reality, folks. It's the rule. Anyway, there's a big old dick kick by Dustin that gets missed by the referee, but they say, oh, it's a kick to the midsection, sure. And then like later on, you've got Hager doing an actual low blow to Dustin. They call it a low blow. And then he puts him in his, I guess it's finisher. It's the standing triangle choke, which is a very boring move. But I mean, if you're a heel, then I guess you want to bore people, make people not like you. So here's a boring finisher. Dustin taps out in the end, and so Hager wins his big in-ring debut with AEW. I give this one 2 stars out of 5. You know, it was a mixed bag. I liked the brawling. I thought that was some good physicality, but I think the match went a little too long in the tooth. It was a little slow at times. Pacing just kind of felt off to me. I thought getting Jake's wife involved was a little unnecessary because we're trying to get Jake Hager over as, you know, the big hurt, the enforcer of, you know, the inner circle, and now we've added this extra person in there that doesn't really add to the inner circle story, doesn't really add to Jake's story in the inner circle. I thought it was a bit excessive, and so I thought that just kind of took me out of it just for a little bit. Darby Allin takes on Sammy Guevara up next. The first portion of this match actually happens outside of like the official confines of said match. The bell doesn't ring, but Darby dives right outside to Sammy to start things off. They fight on the outside. At one point, Darby does this dive. He's got Sammy draped over the guardrail, does a dive to the outside onto him. It looks at first like a botch. I think he was maybe going for a battering ram thing with his head, but the announcers keep acknowledging it. Oh, it was a mistake. Like he didn't get all of it, or he clipped his feet on the ropes or whatever, so that prevented from whatever he was trying to do. But the more I watched that clip, I think he was just trying to do like diving headfirst kamikaze style into Guevara. Nevertheless, it was a different move than what I was used to seeing with that one. And then Sammy, with one of the craziest moments of the night, does a big 630 off the top rope onto Darby through the table on the floor. Holy shit, that was just incredible. The match finally officially begins after several minutes, and it's really tit for tat, and both guys are really giving each other a lot here. They both take risks. That's what I like about this matchup. It's not just Darby doing the crazy high-flying stuff. Sammy is giving him just as much. At one point, he hits him with like a double stomp off of the top rope onto the apron, hits a Spanish fly off the top that almost goes horribly, but they're able to recover. In the end, though, Darby hits a flipping stunner and a coffin drop to win the matchup and get some revenge. He wants to hurt Sammy more, but Jake Hager pulls Sammy from the line of fire, and that's pretty much that. By the way, the Jurassic Express were just sitting at ringside for this matchup. Do they take Mrs. Hager's seat? I give it 3 stars out of 5. Like I said, I really admired both guys and their efforts in this matchup, really just kind of trying to one-up each other and do these crazy risks. I would have liked to see the match go a couple more minutes longer, actually. I would have liked maybe they take a couple minutes off of the previous match with Dustin Rhodes and Jake Hager and just kind of put it onto this one, making it stretch a little bit longer. I want to see more of these guys. Hopefully we will see more action from these two in the near future. I don't want to see this feud end just yet because this is, you know, this match shows there's a lot these guys can give. I'm going to say it right now, this next match is easily match of the night, and I think a strong contender for match of the year. It is that good. AEW tag titles on the line as the Young Bucks challenge Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. Elite versus Elite. That's been the whole story for weeks leading up to this point, and all this resentment and frustration and isolationism by Hangman Page, growing more frustrated with his status in the Elite and everything. It is all this animosity. Is there going to be a blow-up? Is there going to be some defection, some kind of heel turn? What's going to happen here? here. I do not want to try and bog down or try and do my best to try and like explain spot for spot what goes on here, but I think what really makes this match so good is the fact that it is face versus face, even though the crowd is definitely more partisan toward Hangman Page above everyone else. Like when he comes in the ring, the crowd goes nuts. And there's even some yay boos when like I think he and Matt are having a punch off and like they're booing Matt Jackson as this goes on. And the Young Bucks are perennial fan favorites, which is especially confusing. The big story is not just the moves. They have a lot, all four of these guys just hit you with everything in this matchup. They are just giving so much, and just when you think they can't top one thing, somebody else comes along and tops it. And it just keeps piling onto each other. It just keeps going and going. And it's just, by the end, the crowd's exhausted. And that actually impacts the crowd reactions for a lot of the rest of this show. But you've got this just incredible, like, half-hour plus this war between all four of these guys. And it's not just the moves. What really impresses me in this matchup is the story they're telling in their emotion, in their body language. Like, at one point, like, Matt's, like, beating up Kenny too much, and they get to stop him. His hands are shaking. He's kind of remorseful. Like, all these big moves. The Indie Taker on the ramp. It's kind of like this apologetic, wish I didn't have to do this to you, brother, kind of thing. And it's just like, there's all that. And there's like this animosity between like Adam Page and Matt Jackson. There's so much going on in this matchup, and it's all just insane and high impact. And I love it. And in the end, though, Page is able to, not single-handedly, but he's the last one in the ring because he hits the buckshot on Nick on the outside on the ramp, goes back into the ring, hits the buckshot on Matt to win the match for his team. So Page and Omega defend successfully the tag team championships in a hellacious, very fun, very just in a way kind of draining matchup to watch. I give it 5 stars out of 5. This thing was just, like I said, it was the best match of the night. You've got so many, all these dramatic elements. If it were just moves and they just motored on through them and didn't do any kind of selling or any kind of body language, I would not have rated this match as highly. But I think the whole inner turmoil of the Elite really helps elevate that. Where is this going to go? Who really knows? We get no blow up between Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. We don't get the Bucks turning heel or anything like that. It's like, it's still kind of tense. We even get a point at the end where Page almost teases the buckshot to Omega, but then they just hug it out and everything. There's still a lot of unanswered questions as to where this is going to go. Like, oh man, something's going to blow up at some point. I think the anticipation is very exciting right now. But yeah, it's a great match. Now, some people are saying this is the greatest tag team match of all time. I'm not going to say it one way or the other because I know there are other tag matches out there that are also fantastic, and I know everyone's got a preference, so I'm not going to say it is the best match of all time. But I will say it is a damn good match, and you should go out of your way to watch it if you have not yet. Nyla Rose defends the AEW Women's Championship against Kris Statlander. I love Excalibur's. He makes this mention during the introductions. He puts like a kayfabe spin on Chris's recent flu she suffered, saying, well, as an alien, she's not used to the Earth's atmosphere, which is why she got sick. I loved that call. There's a few great Excalibur calls in this show as well, which I'll get to later on. Honestly, this match did not live up to my expectations. I was hyped for this one, but I was pretty disappointed with how it turned out. Now, I feel bad for anyone having to try and follow that tag match we just saw, but this one, yeah, really underdelivered. At one point early on, Kris tries a kip up, but she doesn't stick the landing, so it's just a roll backward through. I felt so bad for her there. And there's a lot of points in this matchup where, you know, they're trying to trade blows and they just don't look very good. They don't really connect. They don't put their weight behind it. It's just like, it's all these soft connections. It just didn't, that kind of took me out of it. There was a cool point where Nyla does like a running spear through the ropes on the outside ramp into the ring. That was pretty unique. Kind of a cool counter by Kris because she's draped over the top rope and she ends up doing like a handstand and walking on her hands into the ring to avoid the big diving knee, blowing a kiss to Nyla and all that stuff. At one point, they're going for like a superplex, but it just looks so scary and they almost fuck it up really horrendously. In the end, there's more fighting on the top. Nyla catches Kris and hits her with a second rope beast bomb to win and retain. Like I said, it was a tall order for anybody to try and follow the tag title match, but this was like the antithesis of that matchup in just about every way. There were like so many mistakes made in this one, and it was such just a disturbingly slow pace. Like after everything we saw in that last matchup with all the intensity and all the drama and all the crazy stuff they did, the last thing fans wanted to see was that being as slow and plodding as it was. And I know that both women are capable of doing a lot more, working a bit of a faster style. Maybe they were told to slow down, or maybe they knew that the fans were going to be drained after the last match. I don't know. I think that the crowd also played a role in my not really enjoying this match that much because they were dead, understandably so. There's a lot going on in the last match. But yeah, some impressive moments at times, but overall, not my cup of tea.
Do you think you could help me warm up just a little? Eensy, eensy, weensy, eensy. Easy. It.
Well, after the big betrayal at Full Gear, Cody's been waiting for months and going through so many trials and tribulations to get his hands on MJF, and he finally gets that here in singles action. MJF looking very, very, very tan for this show, and oh my god, what is on Cody's neck? That was one of the big stories this weekend, almost more so than the show itself, was the new Nightmare Family neck tattoo that Cody is sporting. Now look, I'm not going to question where he puts it on his body. It's his canvas, he can do with it what he wants. I just question the quality of that tattoo. I don't have any tattoos on my body, but I think I know a good tattoo when I see one. I know a good look in art when I see one. This is a flawed tattoo because the stars don't look very even. You've got the line work it just doesn't look very good. It's not a great tattoo, unfortunately. Maybe hopefully he can get it touched up or something. But yeah, good on him for literally putting his neck out there, so to speak, and having his skin in the game is a phrase I heard a lot on Twitter this weekend. But yeah, I'm not going to question where he puts it. If you want a tattoo, go for it. That particular tattoo, the quality of that tattoo, that's what I had an issue with. But never mind that, because Downstate is playing Cody's theme live, and the singer cannot hit his notes worth a damn. The crowd's really quiet for this matchup. I assume the women's match was kind of like the palate cleanser, the cool down match, and with so much heat and with so much story behind this match, you'd think the crowd would be at a fever pitch the entire time. They're really not until I'd say a third of the way through, maybe even halfway through, because at one point Cody dives onto Wardlow on the outside. That's the loudest the crowd finally gets for this thing, is when he's taking out the henchman on the outside of the ring. It's just the crowd's really quiet for a lot of it. When Cody's getting his fire at the beginning and everything, crowds, they're really indifferent to it. One story I appreciated them bringing up was the fact that a couple of weeks ago, on that cage match moonsault, Cody legitimately broke one of his toes, and so he's working with a bum foot. At one point, MJF takes the boot off of Cody, bites down on his toe, which gets a big "you sick fuck" chant. It did remind me of when Cassius Ohno did the same thing to Matt Riddle a few months ago, and Orange was on the apron looking livid, which is hilarious. There's a big disaster kick off the apron, and MJF bleeds from it, which I believe is the first time MJF has bled in AEW, and I'm almost certain it's the first time anyone's ever bled from the disaster kick. That was oh, that's kind of a surprise move there. Wardlow gets involved again, and Brandy dives onto Wardlow, and then Cody talks Wardlow down, goes for a big boot, but Wardlow ducks, and Cody hits Arn instead. So not very often Arn takes bumps anymore, but that was pretty impressive as well. We get a big suplex. They suplex each other out of the ring, which is always so scary to watch. MJF taking more clothing off of Cody. He takes Cody's weight belt off. The referee doesn't want him to use it, and then Cody gets the weight belt a couple minutes later, and the referee just lets it go. Biased officiating, I say. Finally, with his back against the wall, MJF looks to be apologizing to Cody, hugging his leg, but then he's a swerve. He spits Cody right in the face. A lot of spitting going on in this show tonight. We saw it a couple of times in the tag title match earlier, and we see it a couple of times in this one. I'm pretty sure we see it in the main event too, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, Cody hits 2 straight crossroads, goes for a third, but MJF blocks it. It has the wherewithal to block it. Hits the power of the punch with the diamond ring assist while the referee's not looking, and MJF falls onto Cody and wins in a big old shocker. There was a lot of ballyhoo in this match. There kind of is with Cody matches. It's all part of the big story they're trying to tell. I appreciated the story, and I thought the twist was a nice kind of the shocking end with MJF winning, and despite Cody, all his hard work and everything. That was a cool little touch. And then, obviously setting up for something more down the line. The feud between these two can't be over yet, but I would imagine they maybe pump the brakes on it a little bit, give Cody something else to do before whenever they meet back in the ring at some point. It's now time for the match I've been looking forward to more than anything on this show, as Pac takes on Orange Cassidy, accompanied by the Best Friends. This match had more build to it than I thought. I was surprised by this. They show a highlight package before this to see that as far back as November, these two guys were beefing. Orange catches Pac off guard early on. They trade shin kicks, which is so incredible. These Orange is doing it at first, and Pac starts kicking him back, and the crowd's totally into it. I love Pac's character in contrast to Orange Cassidy. They are so dramatically different, because Pac is this little, evil bastard sort of thing, and Orange is just chill. He's about everything, whatever, man. And just the fact that Pac's going along with it, and it just works. It works so well. Finally, and also one of my favorite parts of this first part is Orange does an arm drag to Pac with his hands in his pockets. How do you do that? It's amazing. Anyway, Pac says enough's enough and starts beating up Orange on the outside, in the ring, and everything. everything. He wants to hit the black arrow, but Orange keeps rolling back and forth, which greatly irritates the bastard. Finally, Orange, out of nowhere, just pops up and just goes crazy on Pac. Diving attacks, all sorts of things. Pac slows him down, but Orange is definitely trying now. A couple of big DDTs. Excalibur with, in my opinion, one of the best calls of the night, saying that Orange has the tenacity of a humble fire ant, which is a great callback to his past life in Chikara. All of a sudden, the Lucha Brothers show up. When things are looking good for Orange, Penta and Rey Fenix show up, and they beat up Trent Beretta. Chucky T gets involved, and as they're brawling to the back, that's the distraction that allows Pac to hit the Brutalizer and get that locked in. Orange taps out, and Pac wins this one. It was definitely academic that Pac would win, but the way they took you to that point, the story they told, that was money for me. I was so friggin' entertained by this one here. It was funny. It was just like so cool to see Orange finally wake up and try. I hope the Orange haters watch this match and learn from watching this one why he is as good as everyone says he is, and why he doesn't need to do all the things that he did in this matchup, because his character is this great blend of just, he's a tremendously apathetic and lazy guy who just doesn't apply himself, but think of what he does if he uses, 1% of his power or whatever. That's the character we're getting with Orange Cassidy here, because he's so cool, and again, the contrast with him and Pac really sold this for me and just really made it that much more entertaining, where Pac didn't have to try and just humor Orange Cassidy the entire time, and then he's caught off guard and he's like, what? I did not expect this out of him, and then having to try and fight back from that and making Orange look really good in the process. Like I said, he's tremendous for this thing. It was so much fun, and what's even better about this match, they kind of protect Orange in a way, because you had the Lucha Brothers run in and interfere, causing a distraction. So how about that? In your main event, Chris Jericho defends the AEW World Championship against one Jonathan Moxley. I love Jericho's entrance for this one because he comes out accompanied by the Inner Circle Choir, who sing an a cappella version of Judas. That was pretty dope. The match begins in a big brawl on the outside, going into the crowd. Cool moment here where Jericho kind of does a little callback to his match with Kenny Omega a couple of years ago at Wrestle Kingdom, where he commandeers a camera and then gets a shot of himself giving the finger to Moxley as he's filming, and then they cut to that camera angle too. And there's more funny Jericho stuff in this match as well, where they're fighting more on the outside later on, and Jericho rings the bell and on the mic declares himself the winner. Jericho gets a lot of help from Santana and Ortiz in this matchup here. At one point, Moxley bites Jericho's stitches on his nose, but Jericho keeps attacking the injured eye of Moxley. And Jericho, like I said, spends a lot of time working over Moxley in this matchup, but Moxley, very resilient, keeps finding ways to fight back. Jericho tries to go over the walls of Jericho, but then Moxley counters and puts the hold on Kris himself. Jericho putting hands on the referee, Aubrey Edwards. Not the first time we've seen that happen between those two. I love the fact that, Jericho's kind of hand selected Aubrey as his referee for matches. They do have a pretty good chemistry here. And I don't always like it when referees get involved in matches like this. It's the whole Earl Hebner complex. But I think right now, as long as it's not Jericho bumping for Aubrey, I think what they're doing right now works for me. And then Jake Hager gets involved in the match as well. He gets too involved, and the aforementioned Edwards does the greatest ejection dance I've ever seen, where she's hopping around doing the you're out of there, and then Santana and Ortiz sell like a bomb went off. They're taking a bump on the apron to Aubrey doing that, which is pretty incredible. But the Inner Circle's not done yet. Sammy Guevara hits Moxley with a championship belt while the referee's distracted. We still get a kick out. Jericho attacks the eye once more. Moxley's unable to fight back. He's staggering, he's bleeding, he's swinging to air. Jericho finally goes to the Judas effect, but Moxley sees it coming, dodges it, hits the paradigm shift, reveals, pulls back the eye patch and go, oh, I was not blind. Well, was he never blind, or was he just fooling Jericho for a certain amount of time? Because that was never really established. But yeah, the whole thing is Moxley's not blind after all. There's actually a moment in this matchup where Moxley's down and his eye patch has slipped up a bit, and so you could see him telling Aubrey, put my eye patch back down, please. So she does that. Aubrey's a great gal. She's a great referee. So anyway, Moxley's not blind after all. Jericho's completely flummoxed. Another paradigm shift, and Jon Moxley wins the match and is the new AEW World Champion, ending the reign of Le Champion. I'm going to give this one 4 stars out of 5. This match really had everything. It had, brawling, it had wrestling, it had swerves, it had a great story of Moxley just overcoming odd after odd after odd. Can you use odd in a singular way in that kind of context? Anyway, he was fighting a lot of odds, overcoming a lot of obstacles to win this matchup and become the champion. Really is so satisfying and cathartic to see someone as popular as him taking the belt off of of Jericho, and it's a great way to close the show. As for Jericho, you know, his title reign is over. Will he regain the belt at some point? Who's to say? But as an inaugural champion for AEW, I think he did a great job. I think he's been a very polarizing champion. People have a lot of opinions on him because of his age and his physique and all that stuff. I think that it's a testament to Jericho's ability. He's been able to perform at this high level for as long as he has. As a heel champion and leader of the Inner Circle stable, I think he's done a great job of, you know, going back and forth between like being a vicious, evil heel and then hitting a switch and being like this comical heel as well, and being able to walk that line fairly well. I don't think he's ever gotten like too evil for his own good. I don't think he's ever gotten too funny and cute to totally take him not seriously, but I think he was a really entertaining champion. I think he had a lot of good moments, got a lot of catchphrases over, that's for sure. He got a lot of merch made out of that stuff, and I think that I think he's done a great job being the leader of the Inner Circle. Like, I care about Santana and Ortiz and Guevara and Jake Hager now a lot more than I would have, if they perhaps weren't part of the Inner Circle right now. So I think that Jericho did a good job establishing credibility for the championship, defending it for as long as he did, and finally setting up. It just made that much more, like I said, cathartic for Moxley to finally beat him, because Moxley is so beloved ever since he broke onto the scene in AEW and debuted in Vegas last year. It's been a great run, and I'm curious to see where the Moxley era will take us, but that's for the Booker man. That's for Cody and the rest of the Elite to figure out. I'm going to give this show a B+ grade. I think it was a solid showing by AEW here. A couple of clunkers in this show, in particular Dustin Rhodes and then Jake Hager, and then Nyla Rose versus Kris Statlander, but everything else was pretty darn good. I mean, there was a couple of hidden gems there. The Darby, Allin, Sammy, Guevara match and the Pac Orange Cassidy matches were just delights to watch. Obviously, the tag team title match was completely insane. Seeing Moxley overcome Chris Jericho after all those obstacles and everything to finally win the match and the championship and have the fans going home happy was a great feeling as well, and that's what goes into my grade for this one. This show leaves us with a lot of questions and a lot of things to ask and figure out what the answers to them are as we head into Dynamite this Wednesday and the weeks to come. But let me know what you thought about Revolution in the comment section below, and be sure to give it a letter grade by going to the iCard in the corner of your screen. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.
Revolution, 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 revolution. Another slap in the face.